So I had a client message me this week and ask me about why some of her pages weren't being indexed by Google Search Console. So she had set it up and she was worried now that she'd set it up incorrectly, because what she was seeing was that 99 pages had been indexed, but 96 pages hadn't. And she could see that there were 6 reasons for that, but none of them made any sense to her. So what I want to talk to you about today is what some of these mean and why you shouldn't be alarmed if you see something similar to this, because in fact, of these 6 reasons, only 2 of them needed any action taking. So first of all, and I'm doing this on a blog post because when I was going through it, I thought actually this is going to be really useful for a lot of people. If you're checking Google Search Console, or even if you've got it set up. Now, if you haven't got it set up yet, there are some really good tutorials to show you how to set it up. I'll link to some of them in this blog post, and then I'll give you the link to the blog post so you can go ahead and you've got all the resources. But basically, it's a free tool from Google. It helps you understand how your website is showing up in Google search results. So it covers things like which pages are being indexed, what search terms people are using to actually find you and land on your site, and whether Google is running into any issues when it's actually trying to index your pages and crawling your site. So it's free, it's really powerful, but a lot of people, even when they've got it set up, they don't like digging into it because it seems really confusing, and some of the jargon and terminology that's used in there they're not the kind of words that we would use every day. And some of them, things like alternate page with canonical tags, or things like soft 404s. You may have heard of 404s being error pages, but what's a soft 404? And it makes you anxious and worried about whether you've broken something or haven't set it up correctly, or whether Google is even indexing all the pages that it should. So I'm going to quickly run through some of the notes that I sent to my client to just put her mind at rest, and also talk you through some of the actions that we took to fix a couple of these. So first off is this alternate page with proper I can't say it. I'm going to skip it. Without a proper canonical tag. So basically what this means is that Google has found different versions of exactly the same page. And it might be that they've got some kind of tracking codes or referral codes at the end of the URL, or that they might have some kind of pagination tags, like a blog post or a blog grid would often add to your page automatically. So they might be things that you haven't added. They've just jumped onto there by default. And so what it's really telling you is that it knows which is the main page, the main version of your page. And although it looks as though something's gone wrong somewhere, it's actually showing you that things are working as they should, and that Google is only indexing that main version of it. So what you might see is something like this. So this is a referral code from Facebook. This is another referral code. And these are where you can see it says ET blog. So that's the website was built with Divi, which is built by Elegant Themes, and so this is some kind of referral code from Elegant Themes, and you can see this is a pagination tag, so it means it's moved on to another page. It's on a media page on the site, and there's it's got pagination on it, so there was more than just one page, and you could flick between them. So these are nothing to worry about. So you should definitely check them and make sure that it all looks as it should. Are these just referral URLs? And if so, this here, I've blocked out the main domain just to keep it anonymous. But this is just the root domain. So this would be yourdomain.com and then / and whatever this referral is after it. So that's the first one, which is probably the scariest one because it's using words that really nobody seems to know what they are. A page with a redirect, this just means that Google has found a URL, a web link that forwards to another page. So for example, it might be a privacy policy or a terms and conditions page. So you might have your terms and conditions page might be yourdomain.com / terms and conditions. But you might just type in terms and it automatically brings you to the actual full page. So what Google's saying is it's not confused by it. It's just simply skipping that redirect and it's indexing the page that it leads to, so the ultimate source or destination page. So again, there's nothing to worry about here, and there's no action that you would usually need to fix. Crawled, currently not indexed. Again, kind of seems alarming, but it sounds as though Google's rejected your page, but most of the time, these are what we call feed URLs. So WordPress in particular, it automatically creates something called RSS feeds for every post. They're not used as much as they used to be, but they are still in use. And it means that they are for apps and subscribers, and they're not meant to be for search results, and they're not meant to be indexed. So Google will crawl them and then realizes that they're not useful to show to anybody in a search result, and so it leaves them out. And so what you want to be doing is making sure that your actual blog posts without this additional feed URL on the end are indexed. So you can go and have a look where you go to page indexing. In fact, let me just show you here. If I clicked on this is where I'm getting all of the results from. But when you click onto the indexed pages, that's where you can check that the actual blog posts are being indexed correctly. So that's the feed URLs. Then a soft 404. So this is what happens when a page actually exists, but there's nothing of any use to anybody on it. So in this instance, it was an author page for me. So I had created a lot of the posts on the site, but then had assigned them to the owner of the website. By the way, she had created the blog posts in the first place. It was just that I had gone ahead and published them on the new site. So I was never the author in the first place. But it brings up an author page for me because I have been assigned that as a role on the website. Now, because I had assigned all of those blog posts to somebody else, it meant that there were no blog posts by me, and so the page was blank. Now, even though I have assigned a 404 error page, so when a page comes up that doesn't exist, it will normally redirect to that 404 page, but actually it doesn't with an author page. So Google treats it as a not found page, and even though it's a page that is technically loading, Google's saying it's not found because it hasn't got any information on it. It doesn't create any damage. It's not damaging your rankings. It's not harming your site in any way. But ideally, you don't want people landing on that page. It's never going to rank particularly highly in Google anyway. So the chances of somebody clicking on that link and landing on your website and bringing up an error page are small anyway. But let's mitigate that. So you can turn off author archives if you're using something like All-in-One, the SEO plugin, or Yoast. Then that way those empty pages won't ever exist. They will just completely cease to exist. Or what I did was I just redirected it to the main blog index page. So I did that through a plugin called Redirection, and it's what I use for all of my redirects. So if I have a 404 error at all, or if I'm creating a new page and then changing the URL for it, then I will redirect it so that even if that page has been indexed, people don't ever land on an error page. And that brings us to the classic 404, page not found. So hopefully you won't have any of these listed out in Google Search Console, but it can happen. So for instance, on this site that I had created, I had actually created a duplicate page because we were trying out an alternate layout. And the website was already live, but I wanted the client to be able to see the page. So I had put it live briefly. Now, within that time of it being briefly live, Google had indexed the page. And so by the time I took it down, because the client had approved it, it meant that that page no longer existed and it redirected to the 404 page. And so all I did then was create the redirect. From that second draft page, I just redirected it to the correct page. But those are the kind of things that without Google Search Console, it could have slipped through the net. And because that page actually had really good content on it, it was likely to rank, and that it had already been indexed. And so it could have ranked, people might have found it, and then landed on a page that didn't have up-to-date information on it. So these 404 error pages, they crop up when Google crawls a page that actually just doesn't exist anymore. The URL has changed, or the page has moved, or it's been deleted. And so you just need to look out for these to make sure that you can just nip them in the bud. So 404s are really common. Almost every website will have them. It's not going to create dramatic damage to your website, but it's not a good user experience for people visiting your site. And so you do need to take some action on them. So especially if the page is important, if it still has value, then you do want to set up a redirect. And you point it to the page that has the most relevant content on it that relates to whatever the content was on that pre-existing page, which no longer exists, so that it makes sense when somebody lands on a different page that has similar content on it. And if the page has just gone forever, then you can just leave it as a 404 and say that it doesn't exist anymore. But I still would point it to some information that was useful, or have on your default 404 page, which you should have created and customized, make sure that the information there takes them to somewhere that's going to be relevant, or your most useful resources. Eventually, Google will just drop it from the search because it'll see it as a permanent 404, but ideally you want to be taking control of that and making sure people are ending up somewhere that's useful for them. So in summary, basically, Google Search Console it's such a great tool for really giving you some eyes and some insights into how your site is performing. And I just want you to not be frightened of it, especially some of these labels, which can seem unsettling at first. Most of the time, the reports are just for your information. It's just for you to take on board and action whatever you feel needs actioning. Most of these not indexed pages won't require any action from you. You want to be making sure that the main pages that you're wanting to show up in the search results are being indexed. And if they are, then you're golden and you're in great shape. If you haven't set up Google Search Console yet, definitely recommend it. And I would also definitely recommend setting up a 404 page. I do have some examples of really good and imaginative 404 pages, and I will link to those. And of course, if you don't know how to do that, then do feel free to reach out and ask me about my Rock That Website course, where I show you how to create those really essential pages, which are sometimes hidden, sometimes forgotten, or sometimes maybe people don't even really know that they need to create them. So that's it. I hope it's really useful for you to just understand a little bit more about some of these insights that Google Search Console gives you. If you do have any questions, please feel free to pop them underneath the video and I will get back to them when I can.